mob wife aesthetic. On my channel, we are the mob boss himself. Today, we are going to talk about fate in this second upload to my video diary, daily video diary that I'm going to be doing. We're gonna talk about fate. Fate is something that I think about all the time. I need to think of like a cute little title for this, but fate is something that I think about all of the time and has been a topic that has no less than terrorized me for a long time. So let's talk about it because healing. I first want to get into, I guess, why fate would stress me out for so much and my feelings on the matter. I had this feeling, all of it boiled down to me with feeling like if I am fated to do something, if I'm destined to do it, if God designed me to do this, I do this thing in my life, whatever goal or whatever it is that I want to fulfill, I want to do with my life, then that means that I have a higher likelihood of success. If I'm destined to do something, then I can have this confidence that I'm going to be successful at it. And this feeling, growing up as a very ambitious child, as a very ambitious person in general, and as someone who had significant goals and desires for my life, I was often thinking about this idea. I was often thinking about ways to kind of secure the idea of success. Because it's very common in the human condition to fear failure, to fear our own shortcomings, to fear the possibility that things may not work out, and that we are all here hurtled towards this inevitable life and future of unmet expectations, misery, and pain. Just some light ideas for us to think about this afternoon. But yeah, so it kind of felt like this thing for me as a insurance or a caution or a way of preventing that feeling from arising, that if I can just secure the idea that I'm fated to do something, then I can push away the feeling that I won't be successful or that I will fail at something, or the fear of failure or whatever, because obviously that is not going to happen if I'm fated to do something. So I became obsessed with this idea of fate. And then it would blend into these other things that if I like had a desire come up and I had something that I wanted to do, I needed to fit it into this fate idea. It needed to fit in the fate concept. I needed to find a way to justify to myself that I was fated to do the thing. And because then, right, if I believe that I'm fated to do the thing, then I'm going to believe that I'm more likely to be successful at it. So everything had to be fit into fate's concept, whatever, right? Now here was the downfall, or the problem with fate, was that it put a lot of pressure on my desires. I could not want something and be like, that's cool, let me pursue that. It was pause and let's find some kind of celestial proof that I am meant to pursue this thing, or that I'm meant to have it, or that it's meant to happen, right? Kind of adding this unnecessary step. And what it also did was that it ended up putting a lot of pressure on the desire itself, because when you feel like you're fated to do something, right? I'm fated to be an artist, I'm fated to be a student, I'm fated to live in this place, whatever it is, right? If you're fated to do that thing, everything is oriented around the fulfillment of that thing. Because when we're talking about fate, we're talking about like God, and we're talking about spirit, and we're talking about like this very wide, all-encompassing subject. It's a bird's eye perspective. It's very grand, right, when we're talking about fate. So when you say you're fated to do something, you're putting a lot of pressure, but a lot of attention, and it becomes about the thing. Hello, Father. It becomes about the thing. It becomes about the fulfillment of the thing. Like, I was really into acting, right? So I would be like, am I fated to be an actress? And then by having that feeling, I was still orienting myself around acting. So if I had any desire that come up that might have contradicted acting, or even if it was like, oh, I'd like to act, but maybe I'd also want to direct, that couldn't work because I'm fated to be an actress. And that needs to be the standalone plan. Because I can't be fated to two things. I can't be fated to two things that are kind of in the same vein, you know, with career. Maybe I could be fated to be an actress, but I could also be fated to live in New York. And like those don't contradict in my brain, in my brain, and my way of trying to understand this, right? So it became this thing where then I became obsessed with the goal, because I was like, okay, I am choosing to believe that I'm fated in this thing, or maybe I am actually fated to do this thing, but then I become obsessed with that thing. And it was largely just because I was seeking my own personal fulfillment and to calm my own anxieties and nerves through fulfilling outward goals, because I thought it would make me more worthy as a person. Blah, blah, blah. Separate video. Yes, it just ends up putting a lot of pressure on the goal. And the very simple, I guess, solution, I guess you can say, or way that I takeaway as I've been healing from this idea has been that essentially you are fated, yes, for success. There are specific things that you are meant to do in this life, specific beautiful things that you are meant to do and that you will be successful at. And the idea that you will be successful is an idea you can totally get behind. But truthfully, you are fated to be yourself. You are fated to, we talked about authenticity in the past video, in my last video, and I was literally just about to talk about authenticity. But you are fated to pursue what lights you up. And if that is making content, if that's acting, if that's living in New York, if that's having $1 million, if that's having a farm, if that's whatever it is, you are fated to do that thing. But really, you're fated to be lit up. You are fated to live life to the fullest. You are fated to live every day with a sense of truth and lightness and joy and love for being alive and a love for spirit. That is what you are fated to do. And I didn't like this idea. I'm trying to move away from saying being yourself because we kind of talked in the last video about why that's like not a good idea. I didn't like this idea. I didn't like the idea that I'm just fated to be in this present moment and to experience the beauty in this present moment. I didn't like that. I literally just finished filming this 3 seconds ago, but I want to add this point to kind of clarify something that I was saying, that when I was talking about why I also really rejected this idea that maybe my fate or my destiny is actually just to pursue what feels good and just to pursue what lights me up. The reason why I also rejected this was because I was putting so much pressure on the fulfillment of my goals because I was trying to validate this deeper thing within me, as I was mentioning, right? So if I were to shift the attention away from that, then it felt like I was going to be shifting the attention away from what was going to validate me as a human being, right? So then I'm like, if I'm not going to pay attention to this thing, and God forbid if these things were not going to happen, then I'm not going to feel fulfilled, or I'm not going to feel validated, or I'm not going to feel worthy, right? If I let go of these goals. So really, it's been a process of needing to rewire and say that my goals have nothing to do with my innate worthiness as a human being. So they can happen or not, it doesn't matter, but my worthiness will stay the same. Which then kind of eases the sting of shifting the attention away from them and shifting it back onto me and just living my most true and lit up life. Because it felt like my goals weren't important anymore and that my goals weren't fated. And if my goals weren't fated, that made them less interesting, right? Nobody likes someone who just wakes up one day and decides that they want to act and then they go act and they're successful. No. You want someone who's fated. You want someone who's destined. You want someone that had something in them that just had to be discovered. That's beautiful. That's what people show up for. That's destiny. People love destiny. People will pay attention to destiny. Can you hear my cat peeing? So I didn't like this idea. The idea that then I wasn't destined to do something felt very threatening because I'm like, that's not interesting. And the idea that maybe I am destined to do something. In this case, it might have been acting, but we'll use that as an example. Maybe I am destined to be an actress, but truthfully, that's not the truth. That's not the entirety of what I'm destined to be. That's not the point of why I'm here on this planet. This idea that maybe I wasn't put on the planet to fulfill this specific goal, I didn't like it. Like, I didn't like that idea because it was like, then the things that I want so badly, they're not as special anymore. Who cares about being yourself? Who cares about being present? That's how it felt. And that's honestly been something I'm still working on. And if I'm being vulnerable and honest, it's still something I feel at times. That this is what is interesting, is that if I fate myself, if I believe that I'm fated to do something and I become obsessed with it and I wrap myself into it, that is what's interesting. And that's what I can show up to, and that's what other people will show up to. And I just want to talk about this because, I don't know, I don't hear people kind of talk about things from this angle. I don't hear people talking about things from this angle, and this was not even the video that I planned on talking about today, but I just kind of felt like I wanted to discuss this. I don't know, that's kind of an abrupt ending because I really haven't figured this out. But this is just how I feel at times, is like obsessing with fate, obsessing over this thing needs to happen. But as I have been coming more into experiencing more things that light me up, and I kind of talked about more in my last video as well, to pursue feeling lit up more than to pursue feeling authentic. But as I've been doing that, the idea of living a life modeled after just what lights me up instead of fate and destiny and goals and ambition and all of these outward things to really soothe an internal turmoil, that has really been feeling really good. So I've been warming up to this idea a lot more, is essentially what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the second installment in this video diary series that I'm doing. Please like and subscribe and give me your firstborn child. I think that is my official outro. I am Paris, and I will see you in my next video tomorrow.